Nice. Let's run through an example game of the Swordcraft deck. So just give it a bit of a shuffle and head into our mulligan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start with 3 play points. Let's take a look. It's alright. We've got a lot of the 1 and 2 drops that we actually want from Arthur. However, these are bad pulls from Arthur, and Maid Leader is such a good turn 1 play that I think we'll keep it. Altair is a decent turn 5 play as well. We will keep. Start the turn. Our turn we will draw with 3 play points. Barbarossa's fine, I guess. We play Maid Leader for 1. Evolve for 2. And of course, we are going to search Leonidas. You pretty much always want to search Leonidas from the deck. It's just too powerful of a card. Too much of a threat. And it demands an answer. Oh, it was right on top, so maybe we didn't need to search it. No, that's not how probability works. Alright, we're not going to shuffle too thoroughly just because we're doing an example. So that's going to be our turn 1 play. Next turn, we head into 4 play points. Draw. Okay, I've got a line here. First, we're going to play Gunner Maid Sierra. Sierra will search us. We're going to take Aurelia from the deck. The reason we're searching so much early on is to thin the deck. The more we thin the deck, the better our Arthur's odds are going to be of pulling the 2 drops and 1 drops that we need. So that's 2 play points. We're going to pretend we do have an evolve point, but do we spend it on Rosa? That's the question. I think we will. So on Gloryfinder, of course, if you start first, you don't get a evolve point. But we're going to pretend that we do in all our playtests. There's Rosa on evolve. We draw a card. Good. And we probably should have attacked first, but we are going to attack with Maid Leader. And we're probably going to trade into an engaged follower. So that's not going to go face, and it's going to get discarded. Do we ward? I think a lot of the times, sword doesn't need to be defensive in the early game. If we ward it, it can just get removed very easily. So we're actually just going to keep it reserved so that we can guarantee 2 damage probably to the face next time. In fact, if you were going more aggressive, you can even run the Maid Leader face instead of trading, extra 2 damage. However, I don't think it is worth the aggro you would take from that player, so we're not going to do that. We are going to trade it. And since we haven't drawn any aggro, we don't need to play defensive, so we're not going to engage the ward. Next turn is turn 5, we are going to draw. Now let's keep in mind that on turn 6 we are going to play Leonidas with an Evo. If we only had 1 Evo point, we would not have evolved the Rosa last turn. But we're going to pretend we do, so to make sure we have space for Leonidas and then Arthur, so we're thinking 2 turns ahead, we're going to play Altair. Altair is a really good play because you can always remove it on the next turn. Because it has a sail, sometimes when you play a high health card, you're not able to remove it because you're not able to attack into an engaged follower with enough attack to destroy it. So Altair is fine because it can attack reserve followers as well with the sail. So it's almost guaranteed not to be on the board next turn, which is kind of what we want actually. So we're going to attack with Gunnermaid Sierra. I think this one is going to go face because you tickle an opponent, they're not going to be too angry about it. But you're setting up, right? You're wearing them down bit by bit. We're going to do the same with Rosa. We're going to tickle an opponent, probably the same one, although 3 damage does start to get a bit concerning. And then we're going to trade with Altair into an opponent's follower, let's say. Excellent. Now, hand space is something we also have to worry about because on our next turn we will have 7 playing Leonidas going down to 6 again. On our next turn we will have 7 playing Arthur. We will have 7 if we draw any cards off of Arthur. Then we will have to discard a card to make room. So this is one of the problems with this deck, is that you run a lot of high cost cards. You don't want to run out all your early cards that early, and so your hand ends up getting pretty full. That is something to play around. Anyway, on our opponent's turns, we are going to say that Rosa gets removed and also Altair gets removed because it's a bigger target with the 5. But we'll say the Gunnermaid Sierra isn't really worth removing, so we are going to untap on our next turn with 6 and draw. Now this is a problem. There's actually a likelihood that we won't be able to get rid of Gunner Sierra this turn, which means we might be in danger of not getting rid of it next turn as well with the Arthur, and we don't want to fill up the space that much. We are still going to play Leonidas for 6 and evolve for 1 evil point. So it deals 5 damage to itself, and we are going to trade that in straight away. That will get our amulet, and now we're all set up for the next turn Arthur. Unfortunately, we're going to pretend that because we traded with Leonidas, we don't have anything to sack this into, right? So we're just going to say that it goes face and hope an opponent removes it. Now we end our turn. If opponents are clever, they're actually not going to remove this, right? They're not going to attack into it so that Arthur has less space to high roll. However, it probably won't matter because on your next turn, when you untap and draw with 7 play points, it's likely there's still going to be something you can sack into. So we're going to sack into something. It won't trade, it'll just do 1 damage to it, but we just want to get this off the board. Now it's time. Slam down Arthur, and we're going to look at the top 10 cards of the deck. Whoops. Knocked over my camera a bit. So let's see what we pulled. 4, 3, 7, 2, 5, 4, 8, 2, 2. Wow. That is a good hit. So let's do them in order. We are going to play the Navy Lieutenant. We're going to engage something. We're going to play the Geno and evolve. That's going to get... There's only one pick here in terms of the amulet. It's going to be Arthurian Light to set up for the combo next turn there. And then we're going to play Magnolia. And we skip the evo cost, so it evolves for 3. Now we have 3/3 on everything. So this is an absolutely massive board with the Leonidas Resolve. That's 5/5. 7/8 Navy Lieutenant. 8/8 Geno. With Rush, we could maybe trade there. Then we have, this doesn't buff itself, so it's a 5/8 Magnolia, which we could also trade if we want. Then we have a It does gain 5, so 7-10 Arthur. Absolutely disgusting. You really need something like Themis to get rid of this. And even if you Themis, next turn we have the Arthurian Light combo, which means we will do 4 damage Storm every turn. Absolutely disgusting. So at the end of our turn though, we do have to make a decision. Because we did draw from Arthur, as I called, we need to discard something. Now what do we discard? The hand is quite good, honestly. We might want to discard... maybe one of our sails is going to be the one we discard. So which one is worse? I would say we would discard Alexander because it's a little bit worse than Barbarossa, who can come back once. Actually, yeah, it's a tough choice. I think we are going to get rid of Barbarossa because it's going to attack multiple times in one turn. So we're not going to go any further than this. It's already a good goldfish game. For those who don't know, goldfishing is a Magic the Gathering term for testing the deck. You basically play against an opponent that does nothing. In this case, we can't do that. All I can do is kind of simulate playing against 4 players. And since I have played against 4 players a decent amount, I think it's pretty accurate. Alright, we are going to shuffle up again and then play another round. I'm not going to shuffle, yeah, I think I will shuffle a bit. So this is a shuffling method I learned from online. I saw a Japanese player. They shuffled into 5 piles. Now, I don't have enough dexterity to do 5 piles, so 4 is enough for me. And we're going to dump 2 up there. We should have done it face down, however, it doesn't matter. We're just doing a test run. Alright. Mulligan. Not mulligan, draw. We might mulligan. 8. 7. This is too late game of a hand. It's not proactive enough. This is late game, late game, late game, and late game. We are definitely going to mulligan that. And this is the hand we end up with. Not bad. Let's see our first draw. First we draw. We can't play that either. So we don't have any turn 1 play. Yeah, we literally do not have any turn 1 play. That is a bit of a shame, however not too important in Gloryfinder. It's not like pushing 1 or 2 damage on the very start of the turn is that important. So, we will move on to our next turn with 4 play points, draw. That's a little bit better, but we already have a turn 4 play as well. So, Apostle of Usurpation evolves for 1. We aren't going to use an evolve point because generally we want to save it. So we are just going to play Amelia. Here comes the question. Do we summon a card from our hand or do we deal 4 damage to an opponent? I think, it is a bit of a tough choice because this would be a nice card to put down. If we remove an opponent's card, we might attract some aggro. So that's something to consider. I think we're actually going to call it. Right? The reason being is that, again, your hand size in the first 7 turns, well up to 7 play points, does tend to be a bit clogged. So I'm just playing for the future, making sure we don't have to discard one. The Old Man and Old Woman is a decent threat as well. It's a 1 play point removal, because someone's going to attack during opponent's turn, and we can immediately remove it. So I like this play. Puts a bit of pressure and sets up for next turn. When the turn goes around, it's not likely that these are going to be removed, because they are reserved. Perhaps someone might use a removal spell on this, and let's say they do. And we're actually pretty happy about that because it's still 1 for 1. So that's no problem. Okay, next turn we draw. We have 5 mana now. That's a late game card. We won't worry about that. 5 play points. We are going to play for 4. We are going to evolve for 1. Before that, let's check out the fanfare. Each opponent puts the top 2 cards of the deck into the cemetery, so that's 6. If there are 10 cards in the opponent's cemetery, draw a card. Now it is only the 3rd turn, so maybe it's not going to have 10, right? 4 cards in 2 turns with 6 opponents. It's a bit 50-50, I would say. Let's just pretend that we do get the draw. So there are 10 cards in opponent's cemeteries now. Then we evolve, deals 4 damage, so we're going to trade. We are going to remove a reserved follower. Then we are going to attack into someone's face for 3. Pretty decent turn. We'll move on to the next. During opponent's turns, Amelia gets removed. That's pretty much going to happen 100% of the time. And we are... we didn't attack last time, even though we evolved to trade. But let's just say that we don't. That is a perfectly valid play as well. The reason being, if you attack with Rush on Evolve, this one usually gets removed because it'll have like 2-3 health left. If we just leave it like this, we can now guarantee 4 damage into face next turn. At this point in time, Sword really likes that. So generally, you want to trade off if you have Rush, but Sword, you can kind of hold off on trading, let the opponent trade into you, right? So you never trade, you go Unga Bunga face, and they have to clear your board. The onus is on them. So it's quite an aggro deck in all. Next turn, we draw with 6 play points. We are just going to swing into face right now. 4 damage to face someone. Then we have 6. What can we do here? We can play this for 4. Draw 2 cards, summon 2 less. Actually, we do not want to draw this until after. We do not want to draw until after Arthur. We want to make sure it has the most chance of hitting. We do want to tutor cards that are 3 or above, but we do not want to just randomly draw. So I think the best play is just Gawain. We are not going to use its fanfare because we are not going to play any other cards this turn. So we are just going to, in this case, should we rush? Again, we're going to go with the strategy of not attacking so that we can attack face next turn so that it doesn't get easily removed. This is of course a bit of a gamble, it could just get removed anyway, but Sword quite likes this strategy, so we're not going to rush into someone, we're going to leave it reserved. Now one thing to note in terms of who to target with your attacks, generally, if you spread your damage around, you will lose, right? You can play some politics like, oh, I'll attack everyone evenly. It doesn't really work so well with Sword from my experience. What seems to be better is if you just target one person down immediately, particularly something which you can't beat in the late game. For instance, Abysscraft or Runecraft is usually the best target to rush down. So all these cards that we attacked face into should have all been into Runecraft. Sure, you make an enemy out of Runecraft, but you've got 2 allies potentially. So that's a bit of table politics. Anyway, during opponent's turn, this gets removed. Fine. And we'll say that this does not get removed. So, on our next turn we draw and we have 7. It's time for Arthur. Before we play Arthur, we do want to trade this off. So we'll say that we can. However, 5 is a lot, so maybe we can't. And actually, I should have thought further ahead to the next turn. Maybe we did want to trade during the previous turn so that this does get removed, so we have space. A potential misplay there we're going to say that we can't remove it. In fact, we're going to trade into something, but it doesn't have... Actually, we're not going to trade. We're going to play Arthur first because it could get buffed. So we're going to leave it. We're going to just slam Arthur right now. Unfortunately, we didn't get Leonidas this turn, but hey, we did not high roll. Okay, let's see what we got. A 2, 3, 5, 6, 5. Pardon me. 5, 3, 3, 2, 3. Okay, this actually worked out very well. So we only hit 2. Usually we hit 2 or 3. So that is totally okay with me. In fact, thinking back, since we usually hit only 3, it was perfectly fine to leave Arthur. Oh, not Arthur, Gawain. So let's activate the Fanfare of Gunnermaid Sierra. We are going to get out, as always. Oh, we could get out Aurelia, but I think better is Magnolia, actually. We can actually threaten that next turn. So if we take Magnolia, we can actually threaten to buff the board and go face next turn, which is pretty much a one-hit kill. Because we'll have 4, 5, 3, 7. That being said though, we are going to go face now with Gawain into Runecraft. And then the rest don't really do anything. This is a bit of a bad pull. Hopefully in future expansions, we will get a better pull that does something better. In fact, I think we're guaranteed to have a better card to replace this with in future expansions. Anyway, we're going to leave it like that. So now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in hand. 7 cards in hand. That makes me very happy that we played this with Amelia, because otherwise we would have 8 cards in hand. We would have had to discard one. So again, the first 7 turns of Runecraft, or up to 7 play points is what I mean. Very important to manage your hand size. Very important on turn 5, turn 6, to make sure you have enough board space for turn 7 Arthur. After that, it's pretty simple, right? If we've got 8 now, you can do this. You can threaten Magnolia with an evolve here and evolve here. You can start drawing however much you like. You can threaten some storm shenanigans, some late game storm, right? That's how you end the game. Awesome. I hope that was useful, and I hope that you actually try this out and enjoy it. I quite like playing Sword. Now, you just go face, Unga Bunga, but I really like the thinking you have to do before turn 7 to optimize the Arthur. Cool. So that's the game. So that's the game, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.